Welcome, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. We are very happy to see you. Let us know where you're from and kind of give us a clue where on this planet you are from, because we are going to be going out of planet with our guest in a couple of minutes, Bridget Renee Holliday. So we are going to be exploring what it's like to be a starseed on planet Earth and also out in the galaxy. So we're going to discuss everything about that. So stay tuned for that. Guys, I am Joan of Angels. I am here with Portal to Ascension, by the way, and I want to share with you a little bit about, first of all, I'm an intuitive and an intuitive guide, and I help you remember who you are and why you're here on the planet. And that's why I'm really grateful to be talking to our guest in a couple of minutes. And I also work as a producer for Portal to Ascension, and I actually want to take a moment to share with you Portal to Ascension's upcoming events so that you can get a clue for some of the things that will be upcoming, and you can have a chance to enjoy some of our upcoming shows on Portal to Ascension, where we really talk about ascension, talk about how we can improve our consciousness, step into the fifth dimension, and more. So let's look at some of those upcoming webinars so you can know a little bit more about PTA. Right now, guys, we have an astrology program that's really good, and it's not too late to sign up. So it's seven episodes. We had the first episode last night. I learned more about astrology than I ever did. I learned about my rising sign, my descendant sign, and how to deal with it. Really good. So if you're interested in self-awakening, check out that conference. If you continue, if you're an empath, which if you're a starseed, you are an empath. So an empath's guide to the galaxy. And then upcoming, this one's really dear to my heart because I interviewed one of the guests a couple of weeks ago, Mike Ricksecker, and he was amazing talking about the shadow people. But this is on paranormal magic and ancient folklore. And then we have the feast day of Mary Magdalene coming up with our good friend Phil Gruber and Mariana Hernandez. And the last one is going to be an upcoming hybrids online conference coming up in a couple of months as well. So we invite you to, if you're new to Portal to Ascension, to really check them out. You will really like them. So I hope you guys are having a great day. As I said, let me know where you're from, because that always helps us to just sort of join in the conversation. And also let us know if you're a starseed and what planet you think you might be from. All right, so I'm going to introduce our guest in just a second. I'm having quite a unique day. Everything I seem to open on my computer disappears. So quite uniquely, we're going to tell you all about our guest, but it has disappeared off my computer. So give me a second and we'll get it. It is the kind of day I'm having. So we're going to talk about Bridget Renee Holliday. She's quite unique. I adore her. I got to interview her a year ago and spend some time with her. And she is a starseed, a channel, a multidimensional medium, and a galactic ambassador of Unity consciousness. And she does this with grace and ease, by the way. So she holds these frequencies of the Unity consciousness. She grounds them into the human experience, which is what it's all about and what we're going to talk about today. So she's part Pleiadian, Sirian, Arcturian, Lyran, Andromedan, Aurora, amongst others. And she's an Ascension contact specialist. I just think that's awesome. We all need an Ascension contact specialist, especially in the beginning, to help us confirm and understand. And we're going to find out what that is actually. But she communicates with higher realms. She assists others to expand and embrace these innate connections. Her mission also includes normalizing the conversations and perceptions around interdimensional, extradimensional, ultradimensional beings, which is an ultra-terrestrial beings. Her soul work is offered internationally through Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, Awakening and Ascension Mentoring, and Multidimensional Energy Healing. And you could guess her specialty, but she specializes in mentoring starseeds with their ascension journey, helping them remember who they are and why they're here. So quite a unique being. Hello, Bridget. I
Mute
can't hear
on.
you. Okay.
I'm so excited to be here with you, Joan, and with all of you. Hello, lovely, beautiful beings. Ah, so
I'm
happy.
telling you, already I can tell the supernatural is about to happen because the file was open when I began talking to you, 20 minutes ago, and it literally disappeared. But you know what dawned on me? It's like, okay, what, where are you talking to us from? Like your
Ooh,
higher self, you.
oh, all the different places that I am right now?
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm
Simultaneous
telling,
existences.
I am telling everyone here that they should let us know where you're from, right?
Yeah.
And both on planet and off planet. And it dawned on me that my speaker might be off planet, and I really ought to get guaranteed. We should find out. We should start with that.
So I currently reside in the very southern tip of Florida, and you read where I am that I'm aware of. Also, there are more, right? I firmly believe that we are living so many parallel existences simultaneously. Each time I access what I call a starseed awakening, and when I have one of those, then it's it's like an activation, right? So Pleiadian, Sirian, Lyran, Arcturian, Andromedan, and Aurora is the most recent one that just came in the last 2 months. So, and I know that I have others because I'm playing around in them during dreams time and often experience myself in those during meditation. I don't have labels for them yet, right? So I don't think Earth has labels for all the different types of beings that we are.
Okay, so I already have chills. I didn't start with chills, but I have chills now, and I have them because I didn't realize. So it's crazy what the human mind thinks. So I said, oh, she had her starseed awakening, and I was going to say, okay, tell us how you know you're a starseed and what your awakening was. Now I realize you've probably had many different awakenings then, because what you're implying then is each type of ET then you had an awakening experience with,
Or an activation, right? So
or an
it depends on how
activation.
it works. I had a really intense starseed awakening in a beautiful way. It was beautiful and then it was intense. So I had two contact experiences back to back as an adult. And I was already communicating with my soul team, right? The beautiful beings who guide and assist us along our journey. So I was already communicating with angels, ascended masters, higher and master guides, elementals. And there was this, and of course, luminous ancestors. And then there was this huge category within my soul team, this huge group of beings who showed themselves to me as beings of light, but they felt a little different and looked a little different than everybody else, right? And I didn't realize until I had my contact experiences, two of them in the same night, 3 hours apart, that these beings were what I lovingly call star beings, because it's a whole lot faster than saying interdimensional, extra-dimensional, ultra-dimensional, extraterrestrial, and then some, right? So then all of a sudden they started introducing themselves to me like more than here's my being of light form, and this is what my face looks like, right? And this is what a headshot looks like, and here's my whole body, and they were really excited to be able to show me that they looked different and they had more than just a being of light form, right? A light form. We all have a light form, right? Most beings, I would say, out there have a light form. So it wasn't that they were hiding themselves from me. I wasn't ready, and it's like I had blinders on to it. I would hear things about it, and I was really into like Star Wars and Star Trek when I was little, and Doctor Who, and things like that. But it just didn't register until after my starseed awakening. And then immediately after that, my consciousness began to shift, right? And I could feel doors opening within myself. And, I could feel things falling away. And I had a huge period of fear based on the second experience that I had that was not in any way initiated by anything that being did. It was like clearing collective programming around the beings that have gray style bodies, right? The little short grays that we call zetas. And so, excuse me.
doesn't even want
Let
you
me
to
just
talk
clear
about
some
it.
more of that.
Okay, didn't want you to really
Sorry,
talk
guys.
about that one too much. Because, okay, so we've got the Zetas around us right now, and they are trying to choke
I
her
love
up a
them.
bit
Yeah.
as you reveal what's going on. This is going to be this is a
So,
powerful show. I can already feel this, guys. I hope you share it out with everyone you know. Okay, do you have some water there?
I do. Yeah, that was just
Let's
really
both
funny.
sip.
Cheers.
You're so cute.
Excuse me, guys.
Okay, so wait a second. Have you always been connected to these beings of light since childhood?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Since I was born, I was communicating with angels most of my early years. And then Ascended Masters came in next, and then it was kind of a mishmash between the higher end Master Guides and the Ascended Masters. But most of my young childhood was with angelic beings.
Did you see
Communicating
them
with them.
physically, or were they in your?
They show themselves to me in like a humanoid form, but they are light. And everybody sees different things with angels, but they're beings of light, and they have this enormous, they're really tall too, and they have this enormous, almost like sun energy of their light that shoots out like this, like a bow tie, and just goes and goes and goes. And that's how they show themselves to me. And they're kind of like a golden white, a white base with like gold in them, but they also have like what I know now to be the crystalline diamond rainbow light that is kind of just, I don't know, infused in the energy. You can see it, you can feel it. But yeah, I love them. They're amazing.
So now I have other questions. So then you did not know you were connected to the ETs then until you sort of had that contact. You had two contact experiences back to back. So I think you have to share those two contact experiences that were back to back with us so we can all groove into this, okay?
I'm happy to. Yeah, so the first one, I was doing meditation. So I go through these periods of time where all I want to do is meditate in my free time. And in this particular night, I was playing for 30 minutes, meditating for 45, and I was on my third of that. So I had played for 30 minutes and I was meditating for 45 minutes
Excuse
on the
me.
third. Yes.
What does that mean you played for 30 minutes?
Oh,
Play piano?
I like to play in between meditating because it raises my vibration. And in that particular night, I think I was hula hooping, singing, and dancing.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, I just play, right? So, and so I was just having a lot of fun. And then I, would come into, the meditation, and these were very simple guided meditations that are really, really amazing. If you guys out there haven't heard of Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer, I highly recommend them. The meditations, 3 of them that I was doing, are from the book Opening to Channel. And this book, I have a long history with this book, which is really funny, but I was doing 3 of theirs. You had to do them on a CD, so I ripped them onto, into MP3, right? So they were on my phone. And it was the first time I had ever worn noise canceling earbuds. And so I wasn't used to it, right? So I was just laying there doing the meditation, and I have to be really focused on staying with guided meditations because what I generally do is I just pop out and go travel, right? Consciousness traveling is my thing. I've been doing it since I was a teenager and probably before that. But so I'm focused on doing this. And when you meditate for a long time, when something distracts you, you always just bring your attention back to whatever you're doing, right? Bring your attention and focus back. You don't resist it. You don't attach to it. You just observe and bring it back. So I hear this strange thud sound upstairs. Mind you, I'm wearing noise canceling earbuds, but I didn't remember that, right? Because they were brand new and I'd never worn them before. And I'm like, that's interesting. And it kind of drew my attention. So I just bring my attention and focus back to my meditation. And I'm in my living room. We have 15-foot tall ceilings. So there's a 15-foot fireplace to the right of me. On the other side of this upstairs is where all of this is happening, right? And that's my like office and, recording studio and all of that. So all of a sudden I hear a really strange like series of sounds. There was like a zing, well, a boom, a zing, some crackling sounds. I mean, I think I say it different every time, but it was just a series of strange sounds that would end with a thud. But it was happening like it was ping-ponging around my upstairs. And on the second or third time, I saw a color streaking with it. And it was kind of this orangey brown leather color, right? And so it ping pongs around upstairs, comes downstairs, and this is like not even a full second apart, some of them, right? And at first I was thinking, oh, it's my cats jumping off of things, right? Well, then after all of that started happening, you know it's not your cats, right? And it comes downstairs, ping pongs around. My husband is in one of the rooms that it's ping ponging around it, right? And then it goes back upstairs. And at this point, I have pulled my attention and focus back every single time, and I'm just not even focused on the meditation anymore. And so, you know, being me who I am, I was like, what really loud in my consciousness communication that I do with all of the beings I talk to, I was like, what in the F is that? You know, like what in the H is that? And so all of a sudden I hear the sounds and I feel and see, because my third eye is wide open at this point. I'm following it around, right? All of a sudden it comes and I hear all those sounds and I feel a dimensional barrier shift, where they oftentimes, when beings will cross through like dimensional expressions, there's a certain feeling to it. And I've felt it so many times over the years with other beings. So I feel a dimensional barrier shift. Meanwhile, my physical eyes are still closed. My third eye is wide open. And she just appears in front of me, like to the side of me, basically, and leans over me. And she's like eye to eye. And she's like, hi, but in consciousness communication, right? Her energy feels amazing. It's like love and joy and bliss and all of these really fine, beautiful states of being that we have here for emotional states of being, right? And she just feels amazing. And we begin to communicate. And consciousness communication is what I call the mixture of communication that they do. So it generally happens within your mental and emotional and consciousness aspects, right? And it's like telepathy, empathic ability, almost like your psychic abilities get utilized with it too, and all of those things, right? So she's communicating with me in this way. And I'm like, you know, studying her face because she's beautiful, right? She's so different. And there's a part of me that's like, wow. I think I said that actually in my consciousness when I was talking to her. I was like, wow, this is amazing, kind of thing, right? But there's a moment where her energy was so just all encompassing that my persona started to slip away, and it felt really good to me because she felt really good. And it felt a lot like when you're experiencing yourself in the I am presence, right? So I kind of just was in isness inside of her consciousness for a little bit. And then at some point she pulled back a little bit, and then my persona came forward again. And it was a beautiful experience. I didn't think anything of it. I wasn't like, oh, that was scary. I lost myself. They were trying to take me over. I had none of those thoughts that some people will often have when they have that experience. I instead was like, that was awesome. Had that reaction. And we had a little communication, and her skin is the color that I was seeing, that orangey brown color. Their craniums are like, she didn't have any hair, but she had this slight kind of roll up all around where our hairline would be of her cranium, and it was just a little bit wider than ours. Their skin is much thicker than ours, but very smooth. They don't have any pores, and it's shiny, almost like one of those beautiful, like tropical waxy leaves. But she had these perfect raised up circles that were symmetrically placed all around her skin that was almost like what we would have with beauty marks, but they were exact perfect size, the same size, and they were speckled. She was gorgeous. Her eyes were a bit more upturned and a little bit wider than ours, very almond shaped. I don't remember if she had ears, which is really interesting to me. She had a thinner nose, but still a beautiful nose and lips, and her eyes still had an iris and a pupil and, the things that we have. I remember laughing, kind of giggling to myself when I saw what she was wearing, because it reminded me of like a full body spandex outfit. And I remember just being tickled, like, this is what you guys wear of all the different types of material out there, And of course it wasn't spandex, but it had kind of like a mandarin collar. There was an insignia on her chest, and hers was mostly white with silver and blue. But yeah.
So did she have messages for you? Like, so this is the first time you actually had a memory of contact, or?
Yeah, this is the first time I have a memory of contact with this type of being, right? So she, what she did mainly was, it was kind of like adjusting my energetics just through being with me. And when she was talking to me, it was more like, it wasn't like I was hearing words in my head. It was very much consciousness style communication. So she showed me some images and she was giving me feelings that translated into language, so to speak, right? And the visuals were more like telepathic visuals. We definitely didn't have like an English conversation, though it was translated very easily because I'd been communicating since I was little. So like the hi, I heard hi, but she didn't say hi. It was just how she came in, right? And the energetics of it, right?
And did you get the understanding of why now? Like why, like what was happening now? What was like going on for you?
I had no clue about any of that. It was really just, I love you. We are in oneness. And a lot of communication about, new opportunities and new, like almost like new awakening kind of things. So it wasn't like, hi, we're here and we're going to channel a message with you. It wasn't like that. It was very visceral and very much in the emotional and mental body, but in the mental body without the actual like, you know, words that like we're talking right now, right? So it was beautiful, and it was very short because as soon as I had studied her and we kind of joked around about her outfit, I had this moment where I thought, because I wasn't, used to talking to people who could listen to my thoughts like that in conversation, I thought if I open my eyes, she's going to be standing right here because I could feel her, like you can feel someone standing next to you. And as soon as I did that, she smiled right as I was starting to open my eyes, and I felt the dimensional barrier shift again, and she was gone. And I was like, dang it. But I was also like, did this really just happen? This really just happened. This really just happened. And I was freaking out, not in a necessarily scared way, but like my whole world was shifting in my mind. All of my consciousness was beginning to, just kind of shift around, and things that no longer served me were starting to fall away instantly. And I think I sat there for a moment, and then I got up and I ran straight into my husband, who was on the other side of the fireplace downstairs in another room. You know what I mean? He wasn't far away while this was all happening. And then I think I called my mother, my best friend, and my Nana.
And you said, and what did you say? You went,
I just saw an extraterrestrial in my room, in my house. Like,
so that is life changing. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I bet it was astounding. And I keep having this question that goes in and out, and it just went out. So it will come back about the experience itself. You weren't, oh yeah. So now you knew that extraterrestrials weren't all those gray, scary ones.
Yeah. Well, that leads to 3 hours later. That's a really good segue.
Okay. A good intro. All right. Good segue.
Yeah. Good segue. Joan, you might be psychic. I don't know. You might be. just a lot.
I might be a starseed. We haven't gotten to that yet.
So 3 hours later, cut to that. I've had all the conversations I could have about this. I'm a little freaked out, a little happy, a little excited, all the things, right? And I can feel things just shifting in me. I'm getting ready for bed. I get into my bed, and then, not even 3 feet away from me, I'm steady thinking about this being, right? Because I just had this amazing experience. So not even, hi Sherry, love you. Not even 3 feet away from me, I sense a being, and I'm like, okay, who are you? What are you doing here? That kind of a thing, right? I am no stranger to all different types of beings. I have had plenty of experience with them.
You're not shy.
And they tried to hide, and I was like, no, we're not doing this tonight. I've had a lot going on. We're not hiding. And so I did my thing where I was like, why are you here? What do you need? And no answer, and even more trying to hide. And I was like, this is weird. They usually answer. And I'm like, okay, why are you here? What are you doing? What do you need from me? And even more trying to like hide and camouflage. And I've played, I've done this with so many beings over the years that I know that often a being can hide in like in the veil, on the other side of the veil, back on this side. So at this point, I'm thinking this is like a person without a body, right? Possibly, someone that's just playing around, right? And so I do my thing where I'm just honed in on them, and I don't, nothing is happening. Usually when I hone in, I can immediately see them, right? So then I'm like, okay, go on the other side of the veil. They're not there. Go in the middle, not there. Go on this side. Do all three at the same time. They're not there. So you're in my room and you're hiding from me. This has never happened before, right? So I'm like, what is this? So now I just full force, like all of my vision and my ability to sense and see and know. And I start to see this grayish energy outline of what we know to be grays. And I was like, oh. And then my mental body started going crazy. It was really out of character. So my mind just started racing with all of these fear-based thoughts. And I was like, what is happening? So I'm doing all the things I know to control the fear and let it move through me. When I say control, I don't mean like strangle it, I mean like keep it from upwelling, let it, move through, look at what it is. Nothing is working. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Were
And
you
I'm like,
frozen?
I wasn't physically frozen, but my mental and emotional body were just, it was like kinetic with it. It was so out of character. I don't think I've ever really been that afraid before.
They have that effect. They have that effect.
Well, I've met them since then, and they haven't. But here's the thing about this. So I called in the angels, and when you call in the angels and there's someone that's not supposed to be there, they come in, especially when you call Michael. They always come in as fours with me. And the last one comes and soothes me. And she's kind of like, stroking my hair energetically, right? She's just like being really sweet and loving, and it immediately erases the fear, right? So they come in, and Michael usually ushers whatever it is out and then goes and handles it however he does, right? He doesn't do all that in front of me. They've been doing this with me since I was little. Anytime I would be afraid, anytime a being was around that I didn't know what to do with when I was really little. So even as an adult, like if I need assistance, I call them, right? It makes perfect sense to me. I can handle things on my own most of the time, but sometimes when things go crazy, call the angels, right? So for the first time ever, they had a conversation. And I like to do like Charlie Brown's teacher for it, but in like the booming archangel voice. So Michael was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And the little guy was like, wah, 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 and it was like this conversation between them. And then all of a sudden, I can feel Michael just asking him, like, what are you doing here? What are you, what is your purpose here? And they were having an actual like energetic conversation. And then the little one goes, like tucks his head, like little kid that just got in trouble, spins around and disappears into whatever, right? And so I'm sitting here as this is all happening. The angel is communicating with me that's laying next to me, sitting by me on the bed. And I was like, I just failed a test. I just failed a test, didn't I? Because I just knew. Because what I've learned in my life is if they're offering up a new experience. If I have a weird response, it means that I'm not going to get that experience for a while until I work through whatever it is, right?
Oh, this is important, everyone.
Yes.
That's critical. Okay, this is like a huge teaching about that experience. Okay, you're not supposed to panic.
Right. So I'm like having all this stuff happen, and I'm telling her, I'm like, I just failed a test, didn't I? And she was like, kind of like, hush now, we can talk about it tomorrow, sleep. Because they always put me to sleep whenever there's fear. I mean, since I was a little kid, that's like the first thing they do if I'm in bed, right? And so I'm like, okay, so I wake up the next day and I still have all this fear and all this anxiety. And for like 2 weeks, I was laden with it. It was in ways that I had never experienced before, about little things, big things, all the things. I really started to understand how some of my friends live that have that, chronic anxiety kind of thing going on. And my team is being kind of hush hush about it, which usually means they want me to try to figure it out on my own. Finally, I'd had enough. And I was like, what is going on? I was like, it's like I turned into a different person overnight. I don't know what's happening. And so finally, my team was like, okay, you're clearing collective programming that you have adopted in all your life from TV and movies and other people and conversations, and you're also clearing for the collective, which is why it feels so intense. And so I was like, okay, good. done, because all they have to do is tell me I'm clearing for the collective and I'm all in, I'm like, let's dive deep and do this, but yeah, it was very interesting. And then shortly after that, I mean, even within the 2 weeks, when I would meditate, that's when the beings on my soul team were showing me, the first one was kind of like a little nervous about it, like, how are you going to react? And I was like, you're so cool, so I didn't have the reaction I think some people would if their soul team started showing them
after you had this clearing, then you were able to they started coming to you, and you didn't chase them away out of your fear. You were now understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you, I had the same kind of reaction. I guess a couple of months ago, I don't know what I was doing, but suddenly there was this wasn't a little gray. It was one of those big grays, and it was a big, ugly gray. And it had a huge head. I mean, huge. It scared the living daylights out of me, and it looked like a malevolent being, and it was like, oh my God. And I made him leave my sanctuary. You're not allowed here. And I drove him out. So a couple of weeks ago, I had this experience and I think I had this experience, for those of you who don't know this, where I was asked to call in an alien. All right. So this was not an enlightened group. It wasn't, well-trained in meditation and we're calling in our star family. They wanted an alien. But my guide said I could do it. And I've called in angels, I'd never called in ETs. So I explained to them about the extraterrestrials. They're our star family. I talked to them about the history of Joshua Tree, where we were, and the connection. And I just was guided to do a process. And the next thing I know, I hear a voice that says, look up. And I say, it's too soon. And they said, open your eyes and look up. And I opened my eyes and looked up and shouted at the same time. And there it was, spreading cosmic dust all over us, Bridget. It was, I looked up and I saw this light and I said, oh gosh, it's like a shooting star. And then it stopped. Just stopped, above overhead, not even more than a few thousand feet overhead. And it glimmered. It looked celestial. That's all I could say. And then it glittered gold and shot away. So it was definitely a whole upgrade for me. My DNA was activated. Sheila Seppi said, well, Joan, your other aspects returned, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So I didn't see any beings. I thought I would go to bed and I'd channel them. No. So the following week, I go to an event, the Disclosure Festival, and I had already told Alan about my experience, So he says, well, Joan, we'll have you come up and you could do the process. So I go up on stage and I call them in, and then I sit down and Alan does a guided meditation, and I'm in the guided meditation and that being comes. And it's like, first of all, I was thinking it's going to ruin my good time on that ship. All right. I was like, oh my God, it was really a lot to process. And then I looked at the being more, and I realized that actually it wasn't a big, scary thing. And something had shifted inside me that I was able to welcome that being in. And once I welcomed that being in, just like you Bridget, that night I came home, or a night or two later, and I asked Spirit, I said, I want to see, I don't know, help bring forward, let me be a paintbrush for these beings so I could have on canvas what I saw and the energy of what I saw. And then it channeled that blue being. And but I was really afraid when I first saw that being. I was so afraid it would come back, and that I'd have to see it again. So, and I'm sure there are people who felt that before too, but that was quite profound.
That is such a beautiful, beautiful story and beautiful experiences. And I feel like this is why it's so important to have these conversations, because as we do step into, more conscious connection and communication with our galactic family, it's really, really, really important to have all of these perspectives shared, to have the experiences shared, because we have had the illusion of separation. They know themselves in oneness with us. And often what I'm finding to be true is that when we have that connection with them, when we have that introduction. Now, the first one I met, I was told by my team, is not a parallel aspect of my soul, but often it is. It's a parallel aspect of our souls. So when we're, having these connections and these introductions, what I know to be true is we are connected with them in some way. So either a parallel life, essentially, outside of the human earth experience that you are living simultaneously. Um, it could also be friends and family, right? And I say friends because I have had experiences with beings who were not necessarily connected as siblings or family in that way, but we have worked very closely together and had that close friendship just like we would with each other, right? So these are kind of the things that I think are important to really talk about with all of this so that when we do meet them, yes, some of them look really strange. I have seen some crazy looking beings, right? So some of them do look really strange. Some of them do not have an emotional body. And anyone that has, encountered other dimensional beings, from other dimensions that aren't necessarily what we would call a star being, you know that when you meet something without an emotional body, it's like bouncing into a void, and it can feel really scary because we have these enormous emotional bodies and we're constantly in each other's, right? So to have that feeling of being devoid of energy in that way can feel really alarming to us. So I think it's important for us to recognize that our fear is also coming from the unknown, and that not everything unknown is something to be afraid of. And I'm not going to say that there isn't duality and polarity within the universe. There is, right? But I also know from a higher perspective, if you're having fear about this or whatever, from a higher perspective, even the control constructs that are happening with us on Earth and in the human Earth experience, even those are a part of the experience that we have planned for ourselves. It's like, contractual agreements with these beings on a higher level, both of us on our higher levels, right? So I think, I think I have just a different perspective of all the channeling that I've been doing and all of the connection and communication with them since that happened years ago. But yeah, I feel like you have something you want to say.
No, I find it fascinating because you're talking about all these programs
Mhm.
that are coming forward with these encounters. And I you said it so fast I didn't write them down, but I wanted to stop and look at them. So so several things come up for me. Like, why do you think? Like, first of all, how many star seeds do you think are on the planet? Are we all star seeds, or is it just a select group of us that you think are star seeds? Like the ones that, because not everyone knows they came here with an assignment. So, like, what do you think about that? And then, yeah, let's start there. And why
So,
now?
oh, I love these questions. So, this is something my team has been telling me over my lifetime, a few things. So, they've said from very young, we are infinite creator beings, right? So, that's what they've been telling me. The angels have been telling me that. Other beings have been telling me that within the team. They have also, with various questions, I have a lot of questions. And so I'm generally asking them. That's how I get a lot of information. And that's how I also tap into my remembrances from my own high self and my inner knowingness, is through asking questions. That's just kind of my, kind of my vehicle for all of this. So they've said, Earth is at one point, and multiple times when I've asked, they've said Earth is a newer planet in a newer part of the solar system, in a newer, in a newer solar system, in a newer part of the galaxy, in one of the newer galaxies. Basically the way they've explained it is, if we're looking at, ancient creation versus where we are, we're kind of on the newer side, right? And Earth is, at least. And I'm like, okay, so if that's true and we're infinite creator beings, odds are we've lived and expressed outside of Earth, right? There may be, I mean, I don't know everything, right? There may be some souls that are created just to have a human Earth experience. I suspect we'll find out everyone on the planet is what we have labeled a starseed, which I think it depends on what definition you're looking at. If you're looking at it as starseeds are beings who have lives outside of the human Earth experience, then I think probably everyone does. If we're saying starseeds are beings who have awakened to the aspect that Earth is not our primary home, which is still part of the same, the same label definition that starseed is, then I would say
But they know it.
maybe they're not awakened yet, right? Doesn't mean they're not. Doesn't mean they're not a starseed. It just means they haven't had that activation set up for themselves at this time, right? Doesn't mean they won't. But also, activation, the way I view myself as activated, doesn't equate to everyone else. That's my experience and my definition of it. You could have that really strong, magnetism to, say, a Pleiadian or a Sirian or an Orion or, even reptilians. There are many people on the planet, though they're getting a really bad rap right now. There are many people on the planet who identify as reptilians, who have memories of being them. So like, just because you haven't necessarily had an like in-person experience or a meditative experience with them doesn't mean that you're not a starseed. It doesn't mean you're not activated. I like to make that very clear, because where you look in the night sky, if it is the same places during different times of night, right? Like if you're looking at the same star clusters, odds are you have a connection to it. A lot of people look at Orion. I think that it doesn't necessarily mean everyone has been, Orion or from that system. There's a huge gate, a cosmic gate that we come through, a lot of us, when we're incarnating, right? So I think, there's lots of different layers to this, the starseed experience that we're just barely beginning to, scratch the surface of, right? And what was the second question, Joan? You had a second question with
Oh,
that.
God. Okay, how many starseeds and why now? Okay, so many people are waking up to memories of our extraterrestrial origin and our brothers and sisters in the stars. And you said two things. So one thing is, that you mentioned the control program down here, but in the other breath, I'm going, well, why now? Why so many of us waking up now to this reality? And what are they thinking about from the other side about what is going on down here on planet Earth? They are two different questions, but they're organic.
I think they're related. They're totally related. So I received a few visions and some downloads about the why. Not too long after my Starseed awakenings, once I had, kind of peeled back the layers of the proverbial energetic onion of programming, I started asking a lot of questions. So what I was shown is that what's very interesting about this is, most of us know that we are very connected to our planet. We're in oneness with each other and our planet. Now, whether most people are viscerally experiencing that right now is another story. But what I saw, what they showed me, was that Gaia and every human incarnated, from people on their deathbeds to babies in the womb, and those that were in kind of the waiting area to come in, put a call out that rippled out through the connective, essentially 0 point field, that said, need assistance, SOS. It's essentially like when we ask for an upgrade and an activation, right? We'll go, hey team, I feel like there's something coming for me. Can you just bring that in now in a very easy, effortless, grace-filled, this is me, streamlined, seamless, balanced, harmonious, I have all these caveats, right? So I'm like, can you just bring that in for me? Well, Gaia did that. Because we're in oneness with her, all of us did that too. So this ran out, and maybe not us in this incarnation, right? But it rang out to everyone. And all of our cousins, our family, us in other source expressions, because in the fifth dimensional expression, really upper fourth and above, you can communicate with your parallel aspects of your soul, like no problem, right? This is something that does that. So it rang out to everyone, and a lot of beautiful beings decided, I want to come and help. I'm going to do this. Others, depending on how their civilization is structured, others, some volunteered. I have heard and saw that some, the way they're structured, it's like assignments happen for them. So some were assigned, but it wasn't against their will kind of thing, because they, of course, that collective wanted to do it. So, we all came because we're changing the human experience from within. Gaia was created in a fifth dimensional expression, and through a lot of our previous humanoid incarnations on Earth, specifically I'm speaking of Atlantis, we collectively chose to essentially break the grid and drop into a third dimensional expression. That's what I've been shown and what I've been told. And we're now on the upswing back up. So, and then we'll go even higher. But essentially, we're here to bring in frequencies, codes, and vibration, right? That will shift this human earth experience from within it. It's the same thing that we do when we create, like a new planet is created, and we're choosing what type of expression would work there, right? Um, we will go in and incarnate and form, adjust the frequencies from within, kind of test it out, and then we'll come back out, do some more adjustments, and then go back in. And we may have, thousands of different forms that we try in here because they bring in different codes, different frequencies. And then once it's been, kind of decided, we'll call out to other aspects of our soul that we need those codes for this expression. So you might have Arcturians that come for a little while, or Pleiadians, or Sirians, or Lyrans, or whatever, reptilians, all of them, right? So we're doing essentially that, but we're doing it within the human form. We're doing it within a human experience. And a lot of us, this is a really cool place to be. It seems super crazy. And it's because it's this really, we have these enormous emotional bodies. We have really intense and the freedom to have high highs and low lows and everything in between. And when we're looking at it from outside of the human expression, it's like, oh, I can totally do that. It's going to be easy because we're masters in those lives, right? You don't come here to Earth unless you're a master many times over, right? So those of us that are here, every single person on the planet, that's what we are.
That's what I tell all my tribe and my clients too. We heard the call, we came, and we were also chosen because there was a lot of people that volunteered. They went, oh yeah, let's go. But only the best of the best, because this was the most important mission of all times. Because I do believe this is the time that the ascension is going to happen, and collectively the light will win. The light will take over. And that's what I believe is going to happen. And it's going to happen now. And only you're here, guys, because you are the best of the best of the best. So not only did you volunteer, but then, you went through a whole application process. It's like going to graduate school, getting your PhD. They wanted all that. And that's why you're here with us. And that's why, Bridget, tell us then, so I'm thinking that for some starseeds, it's a harder awakening than others. And how do you help people then how do you help us?
That really depends on who you are and what you're experiencing, right? But basically what I do is, because of all of the connection and communication, and I have expanded to hold a lot of different frequencies within my chord, CHORD, right? I've grounded in a lot of different, we'll call it galactic, even though it's more cosmic frequencies. And so just speaking to me, people are receiving and they're shifting, because honestly, I'm not doing this to them. It's that they are accepting those frequencies and awakening to that aspect of being within themselves, right? So I do a lot of that naturally. But when I work with, like, starseeds that are newly awakened and that have had trauma, it's a matter of, really shifting perspectives and being able to see it through the lens of neutrality versus that initial fear response, and then all of the stories and beliefs that were created around it in that moment of not knowing and not understanding, right? And when we can shift into that neutrality, then it's really easy to look at it objectively, but also to start to really see the truth of what that experience is. I think this is often why a lot of people, when they start connecting with specific types of beings, even like the Greys, what we call the Greys, my team, every time I say that, they're like, there are thousands of beings that have that body style, and they're not all the same, but I can just hear them. They're all like chiming in right now. It's like saying, all the men, for every man on the planet, or
All the
whatever.
men. Okay.
Yeah.
All the guys.
So, basically, I think that's why a lot of people they'll get stuck in that cognitive dissonance, where they are in this moment of confusion. It doesn't equate with their rational mind, and they get stuck in this. And it's like a loop that they perpetuate with how they are not allowing themselves to expand the picture and look at it from a lot of different angles. And that is what we do. But also, when you have these awakening experiences, new aspects of essentially your soul come online, right? So there's a lot of that too, which can really ramp up the magnitude of the overall experience. So it's a matter of, learning how to really just integrate all of these things. And that's really customized per person, because we're all individuals, right?
Do you feel like you're a portal? Because I'll tell you why I asked that question. With you, it's very, very interesting. I've told you this before. It's your voice. I've heard other people on Clubhouse, so I can't just say, I'm not going to say every person on Clubhouse that I listen to goes in that. You have this resonance voice. So seeing you in person sometimes shocks me after having heard you, because I think you were designed in a certain way as a portal. Is that true?
Well, I view myself as a conduit of frequency, angelic frequency, and, interdimensional, extradimensional, ultradimensional, and even extraterrestrial frequency, all of the things that I hold within myself, from the soul stream that I share with these beings, right? So, what happens with people, at least from my end and my perception, is, whatever codes, keys, frequency, wisdom, and knowledge you're ready for within your own experience, this is like an activation for you. And what's interesting about that is you may be doing the same thing with me, right? So it's not like I'm better than anyone else. We do this with each other all the time. I just have an intentional, conscious awareness about it, and I allow it to flow freely, right? So I want people to be able to receive what they've designed for themselves, what they're ready for, right? And I work very intentionally about being a clear, open channel. And the clear, comes with, releasing all of those aspects that we're ready to move beyond within the human earth experience. Now, don't think that I'm saying I'm perfect at that. I'm not, but I work very diligently at doing this, right? So I think that also is felt when we do our inner work and we begin to clear out all of those, old programs, so to speak, all of those outdated energetics. Then other people who are ready to do that will start to feel that activation. And this is why my team calls all of us expansion catalysts, because as we begin to do that and we begin to really access and embody more of our higher dimensional frequencies, because we have all of the dimensions within us, then that serves as an activation point for everyone around us in whatever way they've designed for themselves, right?
So what's that word? What are we? Activation specialists?
Ascension contact specialist. Yeah, that's what
Ascension
they told me
contact.
that. I was like, that is such a serious name
You
when
are
they
an
told me that.
ascension contact specialist.
At least right now.
I love that. Okay, so that gives so much form to this extraterrestrial contact, to starseed contact, to the idea. Sometimes I tune in and it's like I'm on the ship. I can see the level of command, and it's like, yes, you will now meet with Bridget, the contact specialist here. The contact and I was thinking, oh my God, it would be great if they can maybe they do have a meeting with you before they come down here.
I have a lot of councils that I meet with. Since my activations, I am conscious sometimes of meeting with them, like I have a full memory of it. Other times it's more of like the imprint of I've been doing this, but that's because I set it up for myself. If it's boring and I don't really, I don't really need to know about that stuff, but I want to know about the juicy details, I want to know about the things I'm going to be excited about and that will be really beneficial for others, right? So if it's like something where it's like, not that they do this, but balancing ledgers, I don't want to know about that. I don't want to remember that. Just leave that there.
Right.
Bring forward the fun stuff, right? Not that I won't ever have those experiences, because I do, but I think, the more we start opening to those aspects of ourselves and we realize that we have parallel aspects as many different types of beings that are connecting with us, then, often, at least for me, we pop into them. And sometimes we're driving the car and sometimes they're driving the car, so it just depends on
Right.
who we are to them, right?
Right. No, I understand that. Okay, so I just have this really cute vision of you sitting up there on the ship, and it's like having a meeting with an exit meeting, an exit interview with everyone who's on your assigned group, and you're letting them know, like, this is what to expect. This is what could happen. Here's my number. You're gonna need it. It's gonna be encoded in your system. Call Bridget when you're 22 and you've had that weird moment, and you'll have that wake up. I'm serious. I swear I had this image that was what was even going into it. And then once they're here, you are part of their awakening because they've already been encoded with activation, with waking up, with that, what your mission is, guys, what your tools are. And I kind of think you have that kind of assignment.
I haven't really looked at it from that perspective, Joan, and I think that's awesome. I'm sitting here thinking, like, that's interesting. So I always look at it from their perspective. Like, they're saying, okay, when I'm 22, I'm going to find you because these codes are what I need. And then somebody else is going to find me. And I feel like we do that with each other, like, on such a big scale, right? So I always look at it from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, they told me, I'm an Ascension contact specialist. So, and I was like, that's a very like serious kind of like name for me. Can't we do something a little more glamorous? And they're like, no, you're an Ascension contact specialist right now. I'm like, okay, do I have to say that out loud? Because it
Well,
sounds
you
kind of
have,
like,
and I
well,
already
look at
saw
me,
it. I just
like,
saw it.
and they were like, yes, you need to say it. But yeah.
I just saw it because, it actually is a serious thing coming down here.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't taken lightly, guys. You are expected and encouraged, and you do have an assignment of waking up. You wouldn't even be here listening to Bridget and I chatting about this. You would have shut this off a long time ago if it didn't resonate. And I believe that we do live these parallel lives. And you've already mentioned you have your parallel lives. I'm not sure which side of you we're talking to today, but obviously it's the one that had that serious assignment that wanted to remind everyone. Bridget has a serious assignment here, guys. We want you to know that, and that sort of has been checking off that clipboard. So you're not alone here, you guys. You came down here actually encoded with activation codes to hook up with other starseeds, to meet activators, people who know what they're doing, who have been here before you and are here to actually pave the way. And as I'm hearing, it's almost like they're meeting you down here too. They sent you off, they're meeting you down here. So guys, I want you to meet your Ascension contact specialist. She's come out of the closet as her official job. And you've all met her before. You met her up there, and she's down here. Yeah. Sage, you may ask a question. We have a couple more minutes for you. Absolutely. What's your question,
Hi,
love?
Sage.
And hi, Sage. She gave me a great compliment before. That's why she can ask a question.
I love your hair, too.
We love you guys. What's your anyone have a question for? Put it in the comments, and we're going to peek. And we're going to give you a couple of minutes to ask it. That is really, so while I'm waiting for your questions, guys, if you want to see more of Bridget Holliday, go to her website. We'll put it in the chat again. In fact, Tina will put it in the chat for you. And also, I know that Bridget is going to be at the Ultimate Starseed Conference coming up in the fall. So it's not up on the website yet. So if you haven't signed up to portaltoascension.org, please go sign up to portaltoascension.org. also go to Clubhouse. So tell them about your
Yes.
Clubhouse gig.
So, if you guys are not familiar with the app, Clubhouse is a drop-in audio-only app where we have conversations, and there's an amazing consciousness community on Clubhouse. I am a co-creator of a club called Awake and Ascending. And we have really high vibratory conversations, also really deep conversations about everything Ascension related, Starseed related, Star being related, all of the things. Even, Akashic Records. Namesh is an Akashic Records reader. We have Brittany, who's this amazing intuitive and manifestation queen. We have Faye, who's also an amazing manifester. She's also like this ray of love in a very grounded way. And we have Denton, who is this amazing shaman who is such a nature person. And they're all activated star seeds, all with their own specializations and masteries, just like each and every one of you. And we have these beautiful, loving unity consciousness rooms and space. That's what the club is, where we just love and support each other and share our perceptions and experiences. So come hang out with us. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. We're there every Monday and Friday, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, 12:30 a.m. UK, and then every Thursday at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, and 1 a.m. UK, I do a streaming room with Wish Alliance. Sheila Seppi of Wish Alliance. She has cosmic conversations, and I stream that into Clubhouse. So you can always find us there on Thursdays as well.
And the services that you offer.
Well, I highly recommend Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis. So this is a fast track. It's a catalyzation of your consciousness journey. These are amazing. I work with a lot of starseeds who are activated or want to awaken to their starseed, their starseededness, if that's a word. But a lot of times in the sessions, you bring in questions. So a lot of times that sets your focus point. But my specializations are upgrades, activations, and clearings, as well as connection and communication with your soul team. And a lot of that is the star beings within your team. So those things generally happen, but you can find out your lineages, you can find out where you're from and experience yourself in those lives, and pretty much anything that you have as a question. And actually right now I'm running special offers for that. So you can find those on my website. I do it once or twice a year. So if I think it's going until the 18th. So if you're interested, now's the time to get in. It's amazing.
Sweet. I think that they're very powerful, the work you do. And I actually believe that the people you work with, you actually did sort of send them out down here. You were part of that whole experience. I pick up things in a certain unique way, which is my own unique way. So we did have one quick question that I just want to ask your thoughts of. It was from Sage. She said 4 women said they knew her. I'm thinking it was 4 random women who said they knew. So for me, when we have these deja vu experiences, usually it's true. They do know me in some way, shape, or form, or they remember me from a past life, or I could have been a teacher of theirs, or they're supposed to be a student of mine. That's kind of how it. So what happens? What's your thought about that?
She said in the last month, I've had 4 women say they know me, and my hairstylist yesterday said I was in the salon last week. I wasn't. What's going on? Yeah, that happens to me sometimes too, where people are like, they think they know me or things like that. But I think it's just that soul recognition. When you meet your soul family, whatever life it's from, right? If you're sharing an oversoul, there's that direct connection feeling often with them. It's why we have so many soulmates, right? Soulmates can be any kind of relationship, right? It can also be a stranger. There may be something when someone says they meet me, I try to have like some sort of conversation with them when they say they know me as we meet, to see if there's something that they're ready to receive, right? And if there's nothing, verbally, it could just be energetics, right? So it could be they're recognizing you from lives within the human earth experience, but it could also be that you guys are connected beyond it, right? And this is a great big beyond that happens, outside of the human earth experience and within it, right? So.
So funny. I find a lot of people who look like other people, and I realize there's actually body physical types, as if there was a certain strain of humanity that looks like that person. Like there's
That's funny.
a whole group of them with the same body. Well, my chiropractic background gives me sort of
Oh
ways of
yeah,
looking
you
at
would have
people.
that
And
amazing way of
so,
looking at
yeah,
people.
so I see strains of humanity, and they look alike, they smell alike, they've got the same body type, and it's very, very interesting. Not all, just a couple of very unique ones. So anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked on that.
That's a beautiful rabbit hole.
I go down rabbit holes all the
I do
time.
too. I love
This
them.
is a show. So this is a show. We're not going down my thing. Okay, so to join Clubhouse, what's your page name in
Oh,
Clubhouse?
go. You can. My name is Bridget Renee Holliday. Bridget, only you'll see it on the screen, right? Holiday has 2 L's. You can search me. You can also join Awake and Ascending. So if you search me and follow me, scroll down on my page, you'll see Awake and Ascending as one of the first items in the club list. You'll know it when you see it. Click on it and join it and come hang out with us. We schedule our rooms. We try to schedule them a month in advance. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Right now we have all of July's rooms in, and you can go through and notify yourself on the rooms that you want to join, add it to your calendar, all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Just play around in the
sweet.
app. You'll figure it out.
You can have Bridget's voice activating you all whenever you want, which is really very powerful. You are very powerful, Bridget. I'm really excited and honored that I got to spend time with you. I just love you. I just think you just
I know.
really.
I love you too, Joan.
And so, I had a list of names, and it was like, oh, I'm taking Bridget.
Yay!
She's number one on my list because I wanted to get to know you better.
I know.
And you've
We'll
been in
do
my
more.
heart. Any last message you have for our tribe here?
It's wild. It's wild out there right now, right? So my message is to really find your balance as often as possible. Drop into your heart. Whenever things are topsy-turvy around you, drop into your heart space, find that center, that balance, and radiate from there. And also remember that all of this has purpose. All of this contrast that we're experiencing, this intensity that's happening, is designed to wake people up to what no longer serves them and what no longer serves us as a collective. So we as activated starseeds have our emotions, honor them because we are having a human experience, but then remember that we're here to ground these frequencies into the earth experience. So to do that, it's always returning to our chords, our CHORDS, our frequencies, and radiating them outward. If we're kind of sailing in the wind, with everything that's happening around us, that's one experience to have. But we can also really ground in what we're here to bring into the world and let it ripple outward, inflating what benefits humanity and Earth and deflating what we're just ready to phase out, right? So that's what I would say is ground it in, find that center.
We love you, Bridget. We'll see
I
you
love
next time,
you
sweetheart. Thank
too.
you so much for loving on us today. Oh my
Thank
God.
you, thank you, thank you.
So guys, I kicked myself out.
Again.
Okay, what planet am I in? Okay, I feel so connected to Bridget. How could I let her go? I mean, let's face it. So guys, that was so beautiful. First of all, I have to tell you, I'm now thinking about chords. I send my chords down the center of the earth, CHORDS. We are so connected. We all have come down here for a reason. We are awakening to the truth of who we are. And I'm just so grateful to be part of your journey. So guys, reach out to Bridget at her website, and that way she has of awakening you sounds fantastic. That quantum hypnosis sounds amazing. So go for it. And be sure you check out portaltoascension.org. Look up all of the upcoming events. And if you haven't signed up for an event, do it, because Portal to Ascension is like hopping on a spaceship and going with your tribe and learning everything. And meanwhile, guys, I am joanofangels.com. Be sure to like my page, subscribe, and share. check my website out at joanofangels.com. Feel free to reach out and ask me anything you need, because my job is also to help you remember who you are. So thanks for being with us. You're live with Portal to Ascension and Joan of Angels, and we will see you all next time. Bye for now.